So those experiences just continued to fuel me to where in my head, I'm like, I have to make this entrepreneur thing work.
Hi, I'm Marco Messina, and welcome to More Ways to Make It with Skrill, the payments app for money movers and makers. When it comes to making and moving money fast, there's no one better at it than this week's guest. He's the author of 27-time, yes, you heard me correct, 27-time international best-selling book, 6 Months to Six Figures, star of the TV show The Entrepreneur Grind, founder of the Game Changers Academy. If you want to live the young entrepreneur lifestyle, this conversation is going to be a game changer for you. Please let me introduce you to the one and only Peter J. Voogd. Peter, welcome.
Thanks, man. Great intro. I appreciate it. And I'm excited to be here.
Now, we're excited to have you on our show, More Ways to Make It with Skrill. We know you're a busy businessman, but more important, you're a family man. So how's everybody doing in the household?
Good. We had our second kid she was born 2 months ago. So I now have 2 kids under 2. So it's been crazy. We just took them on a road trip, and it's I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's definitely hectic. So I'm excited to raise 2 little ones. We have a boy and a girl, so it's crazy in our family, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure they're not keeping you busy at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And
Both
Kayla,
very calm.
How's Kayla?
Good. She's I feel like she was pregnant 2 years straight because we have 2 under 2, but she's recovering. She's in good spirits. She really has a connection with our kids, and she's able, fortunately, to stay home because what I do. So she's really been focused on the kids and stuff like that. So it's been good, man. I'm very blessed. I wake up every morning extremely grateful and appreciative. So life cannot be any better, man. I'm excited to raise these 2. I take being a dad, I take being a husband, being a son, being a brother, being a friend extremely serious. And I put that before business. So a lot of people don't understand the importance of putting family first, but I think doing that makes my business way more successful. So It's been good.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear that life's treating you well. And to backtrack a little bit, it hasn't always been that way, especially financially. So before we get on to your success, which is obviously such an important part, and I can't wait to hear everything that you have to tell us, can we talk a little bit about those hard times? Because it's important for our listeners to know that, not everything's an overnight success. And sometimes, as you even mentioned before, it takes years in the making. So can you take us back to the beginning?
So I feel like I've failed my way to success. And it's weird because hearing the intro, it's still crazy to me to hear the intro about writing a book. I wasn't good at writing. I hated writing in school. I'm from a super small town on the Oregon coast of like 6,000 people. I didn't really have any big ambitions growing up. I didn't know anyone making money. My mom was barely making it in real estate. My dad was doing construction. I didn't know anyone making 6 figures. I didn't think that success like this was possible till I started getting around other successful people, but that wasn't until after college. I had a rough time in school. I always felt judged. I felt like I was an outcast. I had so much energy and ambition, but it was constantly being kind of bottled up because obviously in school you're taught to just be like everybody else, be quiet. So I felt like an outcast. I was kind of that kid that other kids' parents would be like, don't hang out with them, right? And I wasn't a bad kid, but I just had so much energy. So I transferred schools my junior year. I went to college, dropped out of college my senior year. So I really went against the grain. And I remember leaving college to start a business in Seattle, Washington, outside of Seattle, against my parents, against my friends, saying, what are you doing? I can't believe you're doing this. You're ruining your life. To actually working 70, 80 hours a week, trying to make my business work, failing, being broke, being frustrated, living in a 1-bedroom apartment with no box spring, just a mattress. I barely had money for the drive-through, going through so much discouragement, stress, insecurity, frustration, to being able to figure it out and creating a roadmap and being able to be successful, becoming an author, traveling the world, being able to not just create 7 and 8 figures in my business, but doing it on my terms. So we could talk about failures, Marco, all day long, right? But I feel like I built upon those, my successes, and I learned from every failure. So I had a lot of failures, man. I had a business on eBay when I was 15, 16. I got into eBay and I was selling things on eBay. But every single person around me, including my parents, said, you can't do that. That's not a job. You can't do that. Maybe a hobby, but you have to work a normal 9 to 5. And I said, what do you mean I have to do that? Like, you just have to. That's just life. So against my gut, against what I wanted, I went back, and at 17, I got a normal 9 to 5 job and just felt stressed and trapped. And certain things just really frustrated me, making the same amount of money, no matter how hard I worked, no matter how valuable I became. And finally found my way in sales and continued to move up and figure out the entrepreneurship game. But talking about failures, man, I've had many of those, like doing the wrong business, getting in bad investment deals with friends, failing, working 80 hours a week, not have nothing to show for it. So we can talk about failures more if you want, but I've had many. I want people to understand when they see me now, traveling the world, speaking. I get paid quite a bit to speak now. I've spoken with all kinds of amazing entrepreneurs and big names, but I want them to understand that was all built through massive failure and frustration and discouragement and going against the grain and feeling sometimes misunderstood, feeling lonely, feeling frustrated, but using all that as motivation. So I think one of the things that really changed my life was when I started, and this was a big game changer, because people a lot of times want to talk about their past, like, God, my past is so bad. I had a rough childhood. I say, good, that's amazing. That's where the hunger comes from. Good luck finding hunger in someone with a perfect past. You get the hunger from the tough times. So the moment I started to use my adversity to my advantage, that's when things started to take off. So I feel like people listening or watching, if you start to craft and use everything that's happened to you and think that it's for you and use that to your advantage to tell a story, to inspire, no one really cares about your past if it's tough unless you do something, unless you create something or live a great life and be fulfilled and happy and satisfied. So I mean, that's a long-winded answer, but I've built my success off failures, man. I have more failures than you can even imagine. So I'm glad you asked that, because I feel like I can relate to people's failures sometimes more than their successes in a weird way. So
makes a lot
crazy.
of sense to me. And yeah. I love that we started on that note. One, because the way I always saw failures is that it adds to your story at the end of the day. When it happens, there's nothing you can do about it. Guess what? It's going to make my book even better when I write this book.
Yep.
But the one other thing that I love, and you mentioned this, and I can relate to this as well, and I'm sure so many can, is that you were saying, you were this outcast kind of like in school where people said not to do this. And now we have this outlet, which is why I'm so excited to have you here today, for that kid that maybe is in class that feels the same way to say, hey, look, Peter did it, so can I.
100%. I want to be hope and inspiration for others, because I didn't have any inspiration growing up around me in a super small, not that it's bad, because now I like that I grew up in a small town. Looking back, I have my morals, my roots from there, but I had no inspiration around me. When I started seeing people outside of my town, when I started looking at magazines, watching different shows or documentaries, I started seeing what was possible. So I want to be that hope that you can go from whatever you've gone through to creating massive success. And I'll tell you, right now, I don't think there's ever been a better time in human history to build a business on your terms, to make money, and to live a great lifestyle. It has become more possible than ever. And I think every excuse that people used to have, they're no longer valid. You know what I mean?
100%.
There's no more valid excuses. Like there's so many different ways to make money and to create opportunity that's unbelievable. So I want to be that inspiration where someone listens to me and says, oh my gosh, he's right. I can do that.
And now, while you didn't have, maybe the people around you that were successful, or you said that you didn't know this because you grew up in a small town, I always was under the belief that sometimes doing something that you hate kind of makes you learn what you love to do.
100%. And
I know that when you were 15 years old, you started your business, right?
I got into eBay. And it's funny, for the life of me, Marco, I've been trying to figure it out for 10 years. I still can't remember how I got into eBay. Like if I came across it online or if someone told me, I always was infatuated with Jordans and shoes, and I used to buy and sell them to my friends. I used to get them at the employee store up in Beaverton, and you get them for half off, and I used to sell them online. Yeah. And I remember the story that you're referring to that I'll never forget that really shaped my mentality was I used to work with my dad construction. I was shoveling sand. We've done siding. I've done all kinds of yard work and all kinds of really hard labor. Like, I mean hard labor where you're sweating all day. And I just remember like I never liked it. I was like, I gotta go. I want to go play basketball. I want to go talk to girls. I want to go do something else. But I just felt like I had to. I felt like I had no other option. So my friends would always work with them too, and they were more grateful. I was more like, it's my dad. I don't want to work all day for hard labor. So one day I checked my shoes. One of the pairs of shoes I sold on eBay, I had made $91. And that day we were making $7 an hour, and we usually work 7-8 hours a day. And my friend made $63 working all day. He was shoveling sand from the bottom to the top of this house all day long. And he was sweating. He was tired. And I made $30 more than him. Literally, it took me 5 minutes to put the shoe online. So I'm like, I'm literally, my 15-year-old brain is like a little bit like confused, dumbfounded. Like, hold on, how do I make $91 and he makes 60 and worked his butt off all day? Something's not right. This is weird. Am I cheating? Like, I feel strange, right? It was a weird feeling. I'll never forget it. But I realized later I got paid for the courage to think differently and to take risks. And I started realizing that age didn't really matter. The eBay didn't care if I was 15 or 80. The customer who got the shoes I sold did not care if I was 15 or 80. So I started realizing slowly age isn't really a correspondent to how much money you make. People are like, well, you're young, you shouldn't make a lot of money. Well, you're 21, you shouldn't make a lot of money. Now I know personally 17, 18-year-olds making millions. I have friends that have younger brothers because they're entrepreneurs, they trained them. I have friends that have brothers that are 16, 17, 18, making 100K, 200K a month, right? So we realize now age is becoming totally irrelevant. But that was the story that totally kind of shifted my mindset, where it's like, oh my gosh, I could get paid from my brains, not just my hands. But a year or two of everyone around me bashing making money online and bashing eBay, like, you can't, that's not sustainable, you can't do that. I actually did settle and get a normal job. So even after I knew that I could do something with it, if you hear something enough, it almost becomes your reality. And I didn't have any mentors or people around me that were like, oh, go for the eBay, go for online money, build your online business. You could do it. You don't have to take the normal route. I didn't have that till later. So then I got a job valeting cars when I was 17, making $7.05 an hour. And I had another experience, Marco, where I was sitting in the valet booth, and I remember adding up my paycheck. I remember like it was yesterday. I would add up my paycheck, $705 times 40 hours a week, minus the taxes, times 4 weeks in a month. And I would work there for the summer, 3 months. So I said times 3 months. And I looked at that amount and I thought, no matter what I do, no matter how early I show up, no matter how extra mile I go, no matter how many customers I help, that's the exact money I'm making, regardless, whether I cut every corner in the book or go extra mile more than anybody. And that instantly demotivated me. So I'm like, something's not right. So these little experiences just kept adding up and adding up. There's another experience, and I share these experiences because everyone needs to use their fuel, these reasons, as fuel. They need to have these things from their past that triggered them to do something bigger. I remember there was my mom's anniversary, my mom and dad's, and my mom had 3 or 4 really close friends, but her best friend she gave him probably 8 months to a year in advance, and she couldn't make her anniversary. She was supposed to speak there. There was a huge gathering, and she couldn't make it. And her reasoning was she didn't have the money and couldn't get off work. So I'm like 19, 20, and I'm like, this person's like 45 or 50. And you don't have the money, and nothing against people that don't have the money, but that's not how I thought when I was 19. My thought process at 19 was, oh my God, what the hell? That's embarrassing. I don't want to be 40 and 50 and not be able to do that. So I need to find a way to where I don't struggle when I'm older, so my family has financial freedom, and I create paychecks based on my value so I can make family events. I saw how devastated my mom was. So because people settle, it hurts other people. And I didn't want to do that. So those experiences just continued to fuel me to where in my head, I'm like, I have to make this entrepreneur thing work. I have no other options. So that was really a turning point. I started with eBay. I started with the hard labor. Not that hard labor is bad. Now I enjoy doing it on my terms for my family when I want to, but I'm not doing that 8 hours a day. My dad has a horrible back. right? Horrible back. Like he's not full 100%. So it's just like, I didn't want to take that route, thinking about my future family. So that's, it's funny. I get emotional and crazy, like sometimes chills thinking about those times, because I remember the feeling I had. And it's like, I'm so blessed that I actually created something from that. But that fueled me, man. A lot of people don't have enough fuel. They don't use their past as fuel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. It really is. And I think that, to your credit as to why you went back, and for some other people, there's also that safe route where in your head you think, all right, maybe I sold these shoes today for $91, but who knows if tomorrow, whereas tomorrow I know I could still pick that sand up. But sometimes you have to take that risk. And I wanted to ask you, when you were there with no money or little money and a lot of lost, did you ever give up hope or want to give up hope, or what happened in that scenario?
100%. So here's a tricky scenario. So I have given up hope, and I have felt like giving up, and I have felt like I had no options. But whether I felt like giving up or not, I still took the necessary actions to become successful in entrepreneurship. So I would be down. I would wake up depressed and discouraged and down and out and frustrated, thinking that I wasn't going to make it. But I still looked at my goals daily, and I still wrote down my strongest reasons of why. So it helped me to, even if my mind was like, you should give up, this isn't going to work, everyone was right, get a normal job. Even though that was playing in my head, my actions were still trying to make it work. So I think a lot of people let their emotions like dictate too much of their life. If you're only making decisions off emotions, it's almost always the wrong decision, because your brain's protecting you. So I had a lot of hopeless nights. I had a lot of frustration, but because I wanted a lifestyle of freedom, and because I wanted to be my own boss so bad, and I had all these bad experiences growing up, those fueled me. So it didn't matter if I felt hopeless, because I still was taking the action to make it work.
And it's amazing what you said about, in 6 months to, 6 figures. And then that was just the beginning, and you were able to take it to the next level. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's steps. I mean, we can get tactical, Marco, if people want to get like tactical on how I did it. Because I realized later that was what the book's about. There were 6 steps I took specifically in those 6 months to make the 6 figures, and not ever having money to making like $20,000 paychecks in a week was just crazy to me. So the first step was I had to get crystal clear on what I wanted. I never knew exactly. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to make money. I wanted freedom, but that's not specific. So if I ask, let's say 100 entrepreneurs, what exactly do you want in the next year or 6 months? What is your ideal outcome? Like the ideal outcome in 6 months. How much money are you making? How big is your team? What are you doing? What experiences are you experiencing every single day? What time are you waking up? Like, what exactly does your business look like? 99 out of 100 entrepreneurs can't give me an answer. They're very vague. And it just, if you're vague, you're going to get vague results. So I had to get crystal clear on what I wanted. I had to get crystal clear on who I was and who I wasn't, like what I wasn't good at and what I was good at, and focus on my strengths. And then I had to get crystal clear on what my goals were. So I started to get crystal clarity on what was most important to me. And that started to change everything. Because when you have clarity, you have power and you move differently. So I finally started to figure out exactly what I wanted. So I put down like a paragraph. I wrote down my ideal outcome. Like, and here's the thing that people, I feel like, sell themselves short on, which is what I did at the beginning. When I ask them what's ideal, they usually base it off their past or off insecurities of what they haven't accomplished. Well, I want to make a little bit of money. I just don't want to struggle anymore. It's like they're basing it off their past. My challenge for people that I did that was a big game changer was I based it off of my potential and what I wanted with no limitations. So I wanted 6 figures. In my head, as I was saying I wanted 6 figures, I didn't believe I could do it. I didn't believe it. So when I'm like, I'm going to make 6 figures, in my head, I'm like, no, you're not. So people are like, you always have to believe. My philosophy is you don't necessarily have to believe at the beginning, because it's really hard to believe if you've never done it. You just got to have so many reasons to make it happen that the belief eventually catches up when you get results. So once I wrote down my ideal outcome, then I wrote down the top 5 goals that I had. And then I started stacking up reasons. So I remember writing down like 50 reasons of why I had to make this work. I had so much anger, built up frustration. I also had a lot of ambition. So I wrote down all these reasons of why I was going to make it work. And reasons give you fuel. Like more reasons equal more results. If right now, if people aren't waking up at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, fired up and juiced and excited to take on the day, they don't have strong enough reasons. And reasons come first, results come second. That's what was a game changer for me. And then I wrote down the 1 or 2 skills I needed to develop in order to make the entrepreneur thing work. And that was step 1. It was just crystal clear clarity of what I needed to do. The next thing was just elevating my circle of influence, right? Little instances I had shaped kind of my mentality and my philosophy. So for example, in 2008, my business started getting some traction, but I don't know if you know what happened in the US in 2008, a massive recession, like massive mortgage crisis, the housing market, the US dollar. So I'm finally getting momentum and then everything's crashing down. So in my small town head, I'm thinking when the recession comes, there's no money. I have to hoard for the winter. I have to save everything because obviously you're not from a small town, but you have a traditional family like I did. So it's just very traditional where it's like, oh, when the recession comes, there's no money. You better save. Mm-hmm. And I was like stressed out. I was kind of taking my foot off the gas pedal. I was just going to save my money and just wait for the recession to be over, which is the worst thing you could ever do. So I went to a mastermind. I met some people that I knew, and they had told me, come to this meeting. There's some successful people speaking. I know you're in the business. You might like it. And at first I was like, I'm too busy. But then I realized I was too busy not getting results. So I need to take a step back from working on my business or working in it and go on my business. So I went there and the guy said something I'll never forget that changed my life. He said, when the economy is down, when there's recessions, when the economy is struggling, money doesn't disappear. It just transfers hands to successful people. And I'm like, oh, I was like, wait. And it sounds funny, but in my head, I thought money disappeared, which is so stupid to think. But my small town, I'm like, oh my God, recession, money's gone. No, it's not gone. It just moves. So he's like, if you want to be the person that actually attracts the money and it moves to you, you need to understand supply and demand. You need to understand how to become more valuable. And that changed everything. So step 2 was just elevating my circle of influence. If you hang around 5 successful people, you'll be the 6th eventually. You hang out with 5 confident people, you'll be the 6th. You hang out with 5 millionaires, it's inevitable you're going to make your first million. But if you hang out with 5 idiots, what do you think's going to happen? Or like 5 victims that always play victim, 5 broke people, right? It was inevitable that because I was hanging around a lot of people that didn't have any money at my age, and they were telling me, Marco, they're like, oh, you're 22, you don't need money. No one 22 has money. It's okay to be broke. And in my head, I'm like, this feeling of no choices, of being broke, it's not a good feeling. So I don't know what you're telling me that it's normal, but it doesn't feel good to not be able to go to the restaurant and make and pay for something, right? So I elevated my circle of influence. I got around higher level people. I feel like life is too short to be around toxic or negative people. So I just elevated. What I actually did that was tactical was I made a list of the 5 growth friends I wanted to connect with and meet, and I wanted to be mentored by. I wanted to be around more. It could be online or offline. Then I made a list of the 5 maintenance friends that maybe were dragging me down. They didn't see the big picture. They were lowering my standards. They weren't helping me think big. And all I did was I lowered the time I spent with my growth friend or my maintenance friends, and I increased the time I spent with my growth friends. And I started seeing success from there, right? And then I started building my confidence account, as in my book, as you talked about. I started to make tough choices in the moment. And I think everyone has what's called a confidence account. And based on that account is how well they do. And every single decision you make makes you. So I started to making tougher decisions in the moment. Should I eat the salad or the cheeseburger? Should I wake up early or hit the alarm? Right? Should I read the book or should I listen to music? Should I go out and party or should I stay in and look at my goals and develop a skill? Every time someone makes an easy choice, it's a vote against their confidence. Every time someone makes a tough choice, it's a vote for their confidence. Self-esteem and self-worth just come from doing what you're supposed to do or what you say you're going to do, not cutting corners. So I started to feel my self-worth go up because when you make a tough decision, it's kind of a vote for your best life. And I started choosing growth in the moment. I always was making the hard decisions. And I realized when I was making hard decisions, my life slowly was becoming easier, which is crazy. When I was making the easy decisions, and I see a lot of people now making the easy decisions they feel like doing in the moment. Oh, I don't feel like doing that. Okay, I'll make the easy decision. As you make easy decisions, life just gets tougher, right? Money gets harder to make. Health is harder to maintain. Happiness is harder to create. So I started building my confidence. Then I started creating result rituals, growth rituals, money rituals, and that started to build my momentum for my business. And that's really what helped me kind of take off, is those couple things that I was doing consistently. So that's somewhat of the blueprint that allowed me to get out of that rut I was in. But everything starts with clarity and your reasons, and then who you're around. Because I feel like right now, the best thing someone can do is just elevate who they're around, and then just find a roadmap on how to succeed. And that's what I did. And I'm grateful that I found those. But yeah, man, it was a crazy journey, and it wasn't like this. It was like all over the place until I finally had a blueprint, and the blueprint helped me go to the next level. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. No, it's true. And I sort of do the something similar where, trying to make the tough decisions, I've always felt it helps you for the next time that you have to make that decision. So you build up that momentum. So for example, it sounds stupid, but sometimes I'll put a cold shower, even though I don't want to do it. And if my mind tells me not to, that's it. I put it on because I always feel like then when the tougher moments happen, it's kind of build up that momentum to be able to overcome that. And it just, those little things, they start to build up. That's what I've noticed.
I do the same thing.
So you do it?
Cold showers.
Good. I'm on the right path then.
Yeah.
So you've cracked this code clearly, right? You've got the success. Now tell me, what made you, some people, they could have cracked this code and they want to keep it for themselves. What was it with you that you wanted to help other young entrepreneurs? Why was it so important to you?
Great question. There was an experience when I was in sales where I broke because of this formula. I was so hungry and so excited to succeed that I broke with the company I was with at the time. I broke it's called the Fast Start record of sales. And I wanted to kind of be my own boss and start my own company. So a lot of people were asking me once they saw that I was doing well in sales, they kept asking me what I was doing. How are you selling so much? What are you doing? How are you doing this? How are you handling these objections? What's your routine? And I found myself, Marco, eventually I found myself when someone came up and said, I use that technique, I closed my first sale. It's amazing. I had another person say, I did what you told me for a week. I went against what people told me. I put my head down, no distractions, and I was able to make blank money. My parents were going to get evicted. The money I made helped them, so they're not evicted.
Wow.
And he said, you changed my life. And I said, whoa, what's this? What's this feeling? And I started realizing I get more fulfillment helping other people and seeing them succeed and giving them the roadmap and giving them what I went through and the failure so they can kind of cut their learning curve in half. I get way more fulfillment and excitement seeing them succeed than myself. That's what changed it. That's why I wrote the book. I couldn't sleep at night. I'm like, I have so many things I've gone through, so many things that I feel like I've hacked the system with, so many things that I feel like I've experienced that can help people, but it's not out there. It's all inside me. And it just, I couldn't sleep. You could talk to my wife. It was a whole year. I couldn't sleep. I was frustrated. I'm like, I have to get this book out. And in my head, my lizard brain was like, book, you're not even a good writer. How could you write a book? I'm like, I didn't care about how good the book was. I didn't care about being a perfect writer. I didn't care that I wasn't an author. I'm like, I just got to get this information out so people can use it. I was expecting to sell 1,000 copies of the book all time, maybe. And the fact that it sold over 500,000 copies is like, wow, doesn't even make sense to me. It really doesn't. I pinch myself. I'm like, what? I'm not even an author. But that's why, dude. Just it's way more fulfilling helping other people, right? And of course, you have to stay on your game. I'm not gonna be one of those people that just talks the talk and helps people and never succeeds myself. I want to lead by example, and I want to live the best lifestyle so people are inspired by me, and then they want to listen. Because I know people that just teach and don't have any results. I don't really fully respect that, but I like living it and then and helping people. So that's where it came from. It didn't come from me thinking about I want to help people. I want to actually teach. It didn't come from that. It came from like experience. Like, whoa, what's this feeling I'm getting when this guy said I changed his life and I changed his family's life because he was able to make the money he needed to pay for his parents' bills because of my advice. I'm like, that's crazy. So that's where it came from.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And our podcast, our Skrill podcast is all about, finding different ways to make it, many ways to make it. And it's such an inspiration, I know, for so many people out there. And funny, I think one of the best lessons that my mom taught me is when I was a little kid, if we would go to a store or a bagel store, I'll never forget, she would make me hold the door for everyone that walked in. Yeah. And it made me, it did something in my brain where it made me so happy to do it. I get a high five or, somebody would give me a piece of candy or something, who knows, whatever it was. But it made me realize that doing something for someone else could actually make you feel way better than anything else. Yeah. Amazing. It's crazy. Great start to this. I love the way this podcast is going. And I also want to talk about crypto real soon. But before we do that, we want to do a little thing that we're calling off limits. And I'm going to ask you 3 quick fire questions. You ready?
I'm always ready. I might not have the perfect answer, but I'll figure it out.
So first, which entrepreneur do you admire the most?
Wow, good question. It's changed over the years. The one that changed my life at the beginning was Jim Rohn because he shifted my philosophy, shifted how I view business, and gave me some principles that I still have with me today. So reading his book, listening to his audios, at the time when I was 21, 22, 23, I needed that the most, and I didn't really know what personal growth was. So he changed my life. So I respected him for that. As it grew, I started really valuing people that have a great lifestyle. So Tim Ferriss was someone that I looked up to because he was able to build a successful business, build massive impact and a loyal following, but also have a lifestyle that allowed him to travel and do what he loved. So he was a big one too. And he's actually promoted my book, which is crazy to think about, that I really looked up to him and still do. And he was able to share my work as well. He was a big one. And then there's been ones along the way, like Eric Thomas was big. He helped mentor me back in 2013. Gary Vaynerchuk was someone that helped. But as I got older though, Marco, I started valuing and respecting the people that kind of didn't work 100 hours a week and were on the road every day and didn't really see their family. I started respecting people that like had a world-class life, that had a great business, but also a great family life. So it just continues to shift. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just entrepreneurs now. Now it's people like Mark Wahlberg who have an amazing family. He has a business, but he also has his movie entertainment, like the movies he makes, but also makes time for his family. So it changes, but I've learned now to not really put too many people on pedestals and just kind of learn from their lessons and mistakes and respect people that I feel like have a similar lifestyle that I want to emulate. So it's changed. There's been a lot along the way, but those are some of the main ones. I respect Patrick Bet-David. I like what he does. He has something called Value-tainment out there. Yeah. So those are probably the 4 or 5 that I've studied and read their material the most in the last. Tony Robbins, of course, too, but those are a couple of the best ones.
A few of those are on my list as well. I love it.
Yeah,
all right,
it's
next
hard
question.
To pick just one.
Yes, I know. I agree. So, would you take a job for triple the money you earn right now?
No. You couldn't pay me $100 million to be on someone else's schedule, but it's my DNA. A lot of people can't relate to that. I have to be able at the drop of a hat to be with my family whenever I want. So it's not worth the money to me.
All right. Having said that, this leads me to my next question. Which of your children is your favorite? No,
can't answer that.
I'm messing with you. I would never ask you such an easy question. So
that would somehow come back to them later. That would come back to them later, and they'd watch this. So I can't say.
We'll send it to them in like 20 years. They'll forgive you by then.
That's funny.
Is crypto here to stay?
1,000%. There's no other option. I mean, if you know the monetary policy, you understand the banking system, you understand what Bitcoin really is, the technology. I can't see it going anywhere. You know what I mean? I feel like it's needed. I feel like it's bridging the gap. It's innovation without permission. And I feel like there's 6 billion people without bank accounts that can actually use Bitcoin. So, I mean, I like it. But does that answer your question?
It does. It does. It does. Yeah. We'll get more into that in just a bit. Let's get back on track. I want to talk about how you handle your money, success, and then of course crypto. So I want to know, how do you manage your money with the Skrill app?
So I use Skrill because it makes managing money quick and easy. If you're new to crypto, it's also a super simple way to get started. I mean, there's a lot of different things. I'm as I get older, I'm big on simplicity, and I'm big on innovation, and I'm big on the apps and the companies that move with the times. And that's why I like it, because a lot of apps don't move with the times. They're like stuck in 2006. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Awesome. Yeah. Always Skrill. Only and always Skrill.
100%.
So I want to know about your mentality. So like, what's your relationship with money? Are you a steady investor? Are you get rich quick?
Money is an interesting topic. Money is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. I've never led or put money first, but I understand the importance of it, and I respect money at the highest level. And I feel like there's a stigma in society where if you talk about money, if you respect money, if you value money, you're labeled as greedy, or you're labeled as money hungry. And there's all these statements, money doesn't grow on trees. I want to be the person that respects and understands how money works. Money is non-emotional. It's not emotional. So I use money as a tool to inspire more people, to live my best life, and to have flexibility and freedom for my family. So my philosophy is there was a point in my life, Marco, where I got more excited about investing and saving than spending. Something flipped when I was like 24, 25, where I got more fulfillment from watching my money work for me and watching my money grow than spending it on material things. So I'm a big investor. I've invested in a lot of different companies. I've invested in crypto. I've invested in a lot of different real estate, multifamily. We have some Airbnbs. I recently purchased a couple properties in Mexico. We have condos. We have duplexes. So I have a lot. Every time I make money, I like to invest it to make it work for me. There's 4 things that people should understand how to invest money in if they want to be successful. Now, some people check out because they like the comfortable life. They don't need financial freedom. I mean, I could think of 1,000 things that money can buy that make life more enjoyable. Like private schools, better schools for your kids, convenience when you're flying, like buying healthier food. There's so many things that people don't think about because they're trained to not respect money. I've never met someone, Marco, who doesn't respect money who has any. So you have to, don't put it first, but you have to respect it. That's the bottom line, right? So I think that's my philosophy, but there's 4 things I always invest in that changed my life back in the day that I think I could share that would give some value. The first thing is you have to figure out a way to invest back in yourself. Like mindset, invest back in your mentality, whether it's books, audios, academies, memberships, programs, masterminds, mentorship, something that invests back in yourself to sharpen your perspective. You only know what you know, right? So the only way I'm able to grow is I invest back in myself. I'm always investing money back into my mentality to learn more skills, because skills are weapons in this new economy. Second thing is back in your business. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to invest 30, 40% back in your business. Marketing, advertising, branding, personnel, whatever it is, right? New marketing material for your website, a new website, logos. You have to invest back in your business. I've never seen a business that doesn't invest back in itself that thrives, right? That's the second thing. So I'm always investing back in myself and back in my business. Third is assets that make your money work for you. This could be angel investing. This could be real estate. This could be anything that you spend money on that makes money long-term. This could be investing in books, writing a book. It can be investing in classic art, cars, crypto, whatever you think is going to appreciate over time. Because if you invest in things that appreciate and assets that make you money, then you're never going to struggle. And the fourth thing is memorable and meaningful experiences. So for me, I'm always investing in assets that make money work for me, myself, my business, and then experiences. We just went on a 10-day road trip. We're going to go on a 30-day road trip starting Saturday, just traveling all up through California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, possibly Utah, and just stay at stay at Airbnb. We're staying on the Lake Coeur d'Alene. We're staying in Bend, Oregon, and we have freedom to work from home. But the memorable experiences is what I think brings massive clarity and motivation to want to keep creating financial freedom, right? So that's a big part of wealth for me, is just those 4 things. If you invest back in yourself, and then you invest back in your business, and then you invest in assets, and then you invest in experiences that are memorable, flying your family first class to Hawaii for a week. Imagine how amazing that would be, how appreciative your family would be if you flew them all to Hawaii, or like your immediate family, your extended family, whatever. I have a friend up in Seattle who flies, I think, 15 of their family members to a different location every year, pays for everything, just as a thank you and as because he's doing really well. And he said it's the most fulfilling thing he does. His family looks forward to it. They bring them together. There's memories they'll never forget. And that's something you can't do if you don't have money. So I refuse, because society makes it okay to not like money and looks down on people who respect money. I refuse to ever be the person that doesn't provide for my family. So that's why I place such a high emphasis on money. Not because money's everything. I love money. Money runs the world. That's not the case. I value freedom and family so much that I just understand money is needed. Can we be digital nomads and have no money and never shower and live in the mountains? Of course. I'm sure people have excuses like, you don't need money, you can live in the mountains. I get that. But is that really fulfilling, right? Are you really making an impact? Are you really maximizing life to the fullest and experiencing the world? So that's kind of my philosophy on that. And I feel like it's been great, because I've turned down 30, 40, $50,000 of business in a month, the month my son was born, because I don't need the money, but I like it for freedom. You know what I mean? So there's so many different things we could talk about money wise, but I just feel like people need to understand the power of it and understand that they can respect it without putting it first. Does that make sense? In a way. So that's kind of what I've grown to understand, is money is needed, but it's not everything. And I think if people put their priorities first and family first and understand it creates some freedom for themselves, it's a great way to live. You know what I mean? And my family didn't have money growing up. So it's like, and I know families that don't have a lot of money that are loving families that they love it. But there are certain things that I listen closely that would help the family if they had the money. So it's never like, it's never to validate not having any money. I feel like that's just, these days people shouldn't do that. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. I love the part about investing in travel. I think it really makes you a more open-minded person and more cultured. So I definitely think that,
100%.
For sure, it's worth it. And if you ever have any of those extended family trips that you want to add me on, I'll be happy to go to Hawaii. Don't worry about it.
Cool, dude. Come on with us. You have fun.
Joking aside, you mentioned crypto, and I wanted to dive a little bit deeper on that. When did you start getting into it?
Funny story. So I've heard about it. 2017, me, Gerard Adams, my friend, and Tim Sykes, who's another investor, we got flown to Tokyo to judge these startups. So we judged like 20 startups in Tokyo, 2017, and there was a startup that was all crypto. It was a blockchain technology, crypto-based, called Apix. And I invested in the company. It was the only company I invested in. All the other ones I didn't really see the potential. And that's when I was first really introduced to crypto, Bitcoin, and all the different technologies. And I was playing devil's advocate. I didn't actually believe it was going to be I didn't think it was here to stay. I had so much skepticism, and I spent 2 full days with the CEO and one of their top, inventors, I don't know what the exact word is, co-CEO, but they were the one that was really behind the technology. And I spent 2 days just asking them devil's advocate questions. Worst case, what about this? 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 I don't think this. What about this? And they just confidently nailed every answer. And that's when I started going down the rabbit hole and researching and reading the book, Internet of Money, and reading all these different things. 2017 was when I really got involved and started investing. And people always ask, like, oh my gosh, if you see crypto down, it's like if you screen out and you see the actual numbers, it's gone up like crazy every single year. So we've definitely done well. I bought my son. I didn't know I had a daughter, was gonna have a daughter time, but I bought my son a Bitcoin at 4,500, 4,300, and I bought some.
We know
more.
the favorite now.
Yeah, well, I didn't know about my daughter, but it's funny. My wife's like, you need to buy Sienna Bitcoin because you bought Santana Bitcoin. I'm like, well, Bitcoin's now at 40K. It was at 4,500 for Santana, but yeah. So I believe in it. I feel like it's needed, and I feel like we're on the right track. With I was just interviewing and talking to Peter McCormick, who was just with the president of El Salvador. They just made Bitcoin their legal tender. Wow. if there's countries making Bitcoin their currency of choice, where every single business in all of El Salvador has to use it, they have to accept Bitcoin, we're on the right path.
That's wild. It's definitely, revolutionary, a little bit complicated for our newbies out there who don't, completely understand, me included, me being one of them. Can you explain how the blockchain works really quick?
Blockchain's where they store the transactions. So it's like, it just sounds funny because it's so futuristic. When someone buys something with Bitcoin, they send it, there's a ledger, and every time you send something, you have like a ledger, like a number, an address that's stored in the blockchain. It doesn't need to go through a bank. It doesn't need to go through a government. It doesn't need to go through someone approving it. It just gets approved through the blockchain. So the blockchain's where all the transactions are stored. And Bitcoin's just a technology that allows you to send money instantly. And the money is just one part of the technology. There's so many different other things you can do with Bitcoin.
Sound advice. I hope our listeners take on board. I wanted to ask you.
Do your own research. That's what I'll tell them. Do your own research.
There we go. Good lesson. Sometimes successful people, they could pinpoint one moment where they made, a big, bold decision, where we at Skrill call it, your big money move. Has there ever been one for you specifically? And I know you've mentioned a lot already, but maybe specifically for this?
There has been a lot of them. I think a big perspective shift, not necessarily an exact money move, was just when I was working 70 hours a week and I wasn't getting results or success or traction in my business, and everybody around me was saying, just work harder. That was their number one answer, just work more. So I would get up to 80, 90 hours a week, and they still were like, just work more. And that was always the solution. Then I met a millionaire for the first time, and he said, and he was like relaxed. He wasn't working all the time. He had a great lifestyle, and he was like really calm. And I was like, how are you so calm and you're making so much money? What the heck? He's like, it's not about the hours you work. It's the work you put in the hours. And I said, oh my gosh. So he said, it's not all the hours, it's what you're doing in those hours that determine everything. It's not about working harder or smarter, it's about working right. And if you can figure out how to work right, you'll be successful the rest of your life. That was a big turning point for me because I was always used to just working 100 hours a week. And in a construction family, as you probably know, it's like hard work, hard work, hard work. Yeah, I get it. But if you only make more money when you work more hours, you're not really ever going to develop freedom. And I think freedom, you're not going to get to your deathbed. One of the big breakthroughs too, Marco, was I realized that I'm not going to get to 80, 90 years old on my deathbed and wish I had more transactions. I'm going to wish I had better relationships. I'm going to wish I had better memories. I wish I lived fully fulfilled and built a legacy for my family. So those two things were big perspective shifts. Like, I don't need to be working 100 hours a week to be successful. I just have to work right and work on the right activities, and that changed everything. And the second one is what I already said. When I got more excited and more fulfilled about investing my money than I did spending it on material things, my life changed. Because I used to love spending it on all kinds of stuff. And I still like nice things. I still like nice clothes. I have a Tesla. Like I still like nice things. But I get more excitement watching my money grow than buying things that are materialistic that sometimes I used to do to make up for insecurity, or buy things. I'm like, oh, look at all these nice things. I don't care about that anymore. Now that I have kids, I'm like, I care more about securing my future for my family and generational wealth, not having a bunch of nice things. So those were the two things that totally shifted my perspective. I mean, there's so many along the way. Mm-hmm. I think another thing, here's a big one that I forgot to mention. I used to bang my head against the wall all the time because I didn't have the answer to what was next. I never had clarity. I'm like, how do I grow my business? How do I grow my speaking career? How do I get my book out there? And I used to bang my head against the wall. I couldn't figure it out. Once I started building my network, I realized that I didn't have to have the answer. My network did. So now every single problem I ever have, one phone call away, I just call my network. Hey, how would you solve this? And they give me the answer. So you don't have to have the answer when you have a great network of people around you. You don't have to solve any problems when you have a great circle of influence. They solve them for you. That was a big breakthrough because so many people try to do it themselves. And I think the figure it out myself mentality is holding so many people back. Because with technology, with the internet, with other people that have already been there, you don't have to solve your own problem. Like any issue you ever have, Marco, with business, you should be able to call someone and be like, hey, I'm having this issue. Oh, yeah, I dealt with that. Talk to this guy. He'll give you the exact system to use. Done. And it's made my life so much more fulfilled, so much happier. I can focus so much more energy on my family and not be stressed. So it's paid dividends for years now to understand that philosophy. And it's took me a long time to build that $1 million network. But once you build the network, it's game over because you don't have to solve all your problems. They can solve them for you. Does that make sense? Those were, I could keep going, but those are the three big ones.
And then that probably goes hand in hand with why you help so many other people out, because then you attract that help back. I love that. And
100%.
I know you have several income streams. You can buy and sell crypto, of course, on Skrill. But tell us about the actual cash in your wallet. You mentioned that you invest in property. Do you also invest in art, in shares, in anything else?
I've invested in some certain companies that I feel like have a big upside. Some I can't mention, but I also do real estate, and I don't do art. I mean, I like art, but I'm not knowledgeable enough. I want to get into some old school cars. My dad loves cars, so do that. But really, it's mainly been real estate, different kinds of real estate, Airbnb with real estate. We've invested in crypto now for 4 years. And then angel investing in some small businesses and some big businesses. And what I've been doing too is doing hard money loans where I'll loan people money and they'll just pay back at a certain percentage. I get a promissory note and things like that. But those are the main things I've invested in. So crypto, real estate, my two favorites, angel investing, small companies, startups, and then hard money loans, and then all different kinds, fix and flips, duplexes, multifamily, single family, Airbnbs, vacation rentals. We've done that since probably for the last 8 years. So those are my favorite investing tools. There's other ones that I've never done that people love. Like there's apartment complexes, there's storage units. You can invest in storage units. There's all kinds of different ones. I like to keep cash on me. We've done some investing in land over in Tulum and over in Cancun. So I own a good amount of land in Tulum and Cancun where they're going to build some big developments. I have a connection in Tulum that he's one of the top developers. So I've gotten early on there. So we have a condo in Tulum and we have some land. I like investing in land because it's really hard to invest in valuable land unless you know somebody. And then it only goes up because there's only so much land in Tulum and Cancun that you can build on. So yeah, man, they're some of my favorites. But like I said, I'm always thinking about how to make my money work. So I have teams, I have real estate teams that are always looking for properties for me. And I have different pockets of people that bring me deals that I'll pay a percentage on too, depending on my numbers of what I like, cap rate and all that stuff. I'm not sure how familiar you are with real estate, but obviously you're still young. I feel like real estate's not going anywhere. And right now it's probably not the ideal time to buy because the market is so high. But when the market corrects and goes down, there's going to be a lot of insane deals coming on. And you can use debt as leverage. If you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, he's actually someone that changed my life too, that I've interviewed, is Robert Kiyosaki. But yeah, there's so many different ways, man. You just have to want it bad enough. You have to understand how money works. But anyone that's younger, any age really, should start thinking about protecting their money for their future. There's never been more ways than right now.
Awesome, Peter. It sounds like you have some smart investments, and Skrill is, of course, all about being smart with the way you manage your money, helping you make, move, send, and spend it wisely. Peter, I want to say thank you on behalf of me and the entire Skrill team. This has been an incredible talk, and I know it provided tons of value for our listeners.
I love what you guys are doing, and I feel like you guys are on the cutting edge and the leading authority for what you do because of your innovation, because of how simple it is, because of how quick it is. I live and die by it, man. I'm excited to continue using it, and I feel like people definitely need to get involved, not just for crypto, but if you're going to get in business in general, how quick you can send, it's amazing. So I'm excited for you guys to continue to grow and innovate.
Thank you, Peter. So I'd like to say a massive thank you on behalf of myself and the entire Skrill team. And I'd also like to thank you, the listener, for joining us. Remember, there are more ways to make it. Go out and find yours. Make sure you join us for the next episode of More Ways to Make It with Skrill. We'll be having on Forex trading pro Ken Chigbo on the show. I'll bet my last pound, dollar, and yen that it'll be a show well worth tuning in for.